Okay, welcome back to the videos. If you guys have not watched these before, they sort of serve as a journal where I kind of enter what I'm learning as I'm doing it, sort of share progress on things that I'm working on. And I used to do this like privately. I used to just save these videos just so that if I learned a lesson, forgot it, maybe if I recorded, I could go back and I don't know, relearn it or jog my memory. And so, but I figured if it had enough value for me to do it that way, then maybe it could help other people. And so for that reason, I just sort of want to like hop on, share lessons from my personal experience, and then maybe that can help some people, I don't know. But anyway, today what I kind of wanted to talk about was, and I've actually created a script, I usually don't do that, but overcoming the fear of starting. And this is something that I've ran into recently, and well, it's something that I like contemplated having an issue with, and then I just did it. And I'll get into that, but I think for anything like working out or building an app or starting a business or posting on social media, like it can be intimidating. And I think a lot of that fear comes from the known and unknown, right? One being like, maybe that person, you don't want them to see it, or maybe, you think they might say something about it. Then there's like the, maybe I've started several projects in the past and they've failed, and I'm afraid to share that with someone else now because I'm worried I'm gonna fail again, right? And I've done that several times. And so it's, there's so many like variables that get in your way of starting, and then there's like the unknown, right? So it's like, if I knew that person will see it, who else am I, that I'm not even thinking about seeing it, am I worried about seeing it, right? I don't know. And so there's all these things that can kind of mount up and cause so much pressure that you just never start, which is, what we're talking about, kind of overcoming the fear of starting. And I think that if you're struggling with that, it's important to step back and realize that like, it doesn't go away because you waited. Like waiting is just a waste of time, and while waiting, it makes no sense that fear would ever change. It's not going to go away. Just because you're worried that person will see it doesn't mean that you're not going to be worried a month from now that person will see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to kind of overcome the fear by really jumping into it. And I think, if I put it like succinctly, it's like the only way to dissipate the fear is to just expect and accept the things that you expected, right? Appreciate that you chose the more difficult route and that might serve you in the long run. And then, let yourself be surprised by what benefits may come from it that you didn't anticipate. And I think that so many people we're risk averse by nature, like humans are. But I think you have to learn to turn that off when it's not a life or death situation. I know. Because it holds you back from doing the things that, looking back, even though I would consider them, not within my definition of success, like, they still produce so much for me. Like I grew so much through doing those things, and it's ridiculous to let that ever hold me back again. And so like, last episode or last video, I was talking about, creating a content distribution system and posting across the internet. And I figured that out. Turns out there's a really simple solution. Little quick plug, Opus Clips is a great app. If you want to turn, long form YouTube videos like this into short reels and be able to distribute them easily across several different platforms. So, yesterday I was using Opus Clips and I was figuring it out, and then I was like, well, I'll wait, and I'll wait and I'll maybe polish these a little bit more or whatever, because it's the first time using the app, maybe I shouldn't post anything. But then I was like, no, like I'm gonna post them at some point. They're never gonna be perfect, and the only way to get better is to just do it. So I was like, screw it, let's just send it. And so I posted across 4 of the 6 platforms I could post on. And all of the things that I talked about in my little spiel there all showed up. What I expected did happen. Did I embarrass myself? Yes, a little bit. But I chose a more difficult path. I learned a couple of lessons, and what I want to adjust and how I want to make those videos better. And at the same time, there was a lot of things that came from it that I was actually surprised with. I connected with people that I haven't talked to in like years, that are business oriented and success oriented, and that was cool. And then like the impression level was far exceeded what I thought I would be able to get. I mean, I'm not really accustomed to what the impressions average are on, Reels, but I mean, I went from 70 views on a YouTube video over a week's time to 1,000 views on a YouTube and TikTok short within, a couple of hours. So like, it's kind of crazy how much more exposure you can get through that. But if I let that fear creep in, it's like, this isn't polished, this isn't perfect, I'm afraid this person will see it, or that person will critique it, or that, I'll embarrass myself, right? And I did it and, didn't really think much of like what the actual positive outcomes would be. I just could only think about the fear, but I just jumped into it, did it, posted it, and now I'm seeing all the positives and I'm like, well, why would I not do this? And I'm so glad, because on Opus Clips, I've set it up to where it's gonna post for the next 7 days. So if you're on, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, or YouTube Shorts, you're gonna see posts from me daily, and they're gonna be the best chopped down, concise parts of what make these videos, I think, good. And I'm pretty excited about that prospect, as well as just the level of impressions and more eyeballs and conversations that I got to have through that, additional exposure. But if I had listened to sort of the fear of starting, that like, well, I don't know, that these might not be ready, I just opened this app, maybe I shouldn't do this kind of thing. I was like, no, just start. And I kind of goes to like a whole nother topic, which is like when you're building a business and you're like providing a service or a product, sometimes you can just over-engineer the product or the service, overdevelop it into what you think people want, and then realize when you're a mile down the road that that's not what people wanted, and they'd rather have this. And so sometimes like just starting, like when you're doing a business, like do the thing for free for someone, right? And you'll run into so many issues. And those issues are an opportunity to strengthen your offer. And that's something I've talked about from I think my last video, but like you only get better through doing. Don't let the fear of starting stop you from trying things. And there's so many people that I think, I don't know, we're at a young age and most of my peer group is still trying to figure things out. But like, I think for the vast majority of adulthood, a lot of people don't try the thing that they're considering trying for fear of starting and all of the repercussions that may come with it, not factoring in what could be the positives that come from it. And then they just live a life of fulfillment where they just do the same things every single day. And that's weird for me because I walk up to people and for me, it's like, I want to know, this sounds like altruistic, I don't know, but it's like I walk up to people and like if I meet a new person, it's like, what are you passionate about? What do you do? What do you enjoy? Because I think those things are cool. When people have like like for me, when I have this thing going on or that, I like to share it and they're interesting, at least I find them interesting, and maybe someone's got something similar to that. But I often run into things where like you say that to people and then they get kind of put off because they don't have anything going on. And it's because they're too afraid to even try any of the things they have an interest in. So I would rather live the one life that I have embarrassing myself and trying the things that I think might work or that could benefit me. Again, being surprised by the things I did not anticipate to go well, and fully realizing what I expected to not go well, and being okay with that because I wasn't that wrong. The fear is always far greater than the actual, negative results that come out of whatever it is you're doing. Like even at the most extreme example, like for my business, when I was doing my agency, like I was spending a ton of money on ad spend. I was like really flooring it on ad spend and that was a big risk, but I just kind of committed to doing it. And even though that company doesn't fall under my, again, definition of success, it still taught me so much. And there is never a moment where I would regret have ever, spending that money or running those campaigns or working with those clients or anything like that. Because every single one of those opportunities where there was negatives, there were also tons of positives. And, I think maybe you have to train yourself to see those. I don't know. But, the fear of starting is so easy to conquer when you realize it's never going to go away. So it's a constant. You just got to do it. And then through doing it, you get better. And then those fears dissipate. You just kind of forget about them because they don't really matter. But yeah, anyway, that's sort of my spiel for today. I just figured I'd share that. But if you guys have any questions or anything like that, I know this channel is a little all over the place, but it's really more about business mindset, and success, and then maybe a bit of marketing mixed in. And I have a second channel that I've already created. I've just got to post on it that is specific to sort of the technical aspects that I use in my marketing to kind of help grow businesses and things like that. But yep, that's just kind of what I've learned. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. I reply to every single comment I get. So looking forward to chatting with you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you later.